Georgia is potentially going to elect Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker doesn't live in Georgia, and it is now becoming even more clear because of an audio recording that has been resurfaced. So let me give you the backstory on this, and then I'm going to play a very important clip for you. One of the things we've known about Herschel Walker, a former football player running as a Republican for senator in Georgia against the incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock, the runoff is on December 6th, and we will have live results for you next Tuesday. One of the things that we learned about him is that he really has lived in Texas for a while, but he claimed that he also lived in Georgia. And we are aware of a property that Herschel Walker has in Georgia. But now, due to a combination of new reporting and a resurfaced audio tape, we have learned that he doesn't really live in Georgia. He admits that he lives in Texas. At least he did a few months ago. And also, the property in Georgia was up until recently rented out, so he couldn't possibly be living there. Yes, he owned a property. He had an address where he could say, this is my house, but he didn't live there. And it was, in fact, rented out to somebody else. So let's go through this piece by piece. First and foremost, we have this new admission from Herschel Walker. The Guardian is reporting about it. I live in Texas. Herschel Walker's speech adds to Georgia Senate run problems. In a campaign speech earlier this year, Herschel Walker, the Republican candidate, said, I live in Texas. I live in Texas. Let's go to that audio. It's not the best quality audio, but I think we're not going to have a problem making it out.
Everyone asked me, why did I decide to run for a Senate seat? Because to be honest with you, this is never something I ever thought in my life I ever did. And that's the honest truth. But as I was sitting in my home in Texas.
I was sitting in my home in Texas. That doesn't mean he doesn't also live in Georgia. Okay, but so that's a start. Let's continue.
Sitting in my home in Texas, and I was seeing what was going on in this country. I live in Texas. Yeah, I went down to the border.
I live in Texas, and I went down to the border. This is in the context of running for Georgia Senate. And he says, I live in Texas and I went down to the border. Now, of course, he thought that it made sense strategically to tout his bona fides about knowing what's happening at the border. The problem is you claim to live in Georgia, but you say, actually, I know about the border because I live in Texas. And then, and it just keeps coming, we learned yesterday, Herschel Walker's Georgia home is a rental property. The Root reporting via Yahoo News, Herschel Walker's most recent scandal is actually an old one. Going all the way back to his campaign announcement last year, it's been reported that Walker actually didn't live in Georgia, the state he wants to represent, at least not full time. He owns a house in suburban Dallas that he and his current wife occupied for years and where Walker receives a homestead tax exemption, which is reserved, for a person's primary residence. But Walker has always had an ace in the hole to use for plausible deniability. He still owns a house in Georgia. A campaign finance report last year values the house between $20,000 and $500,000. As long as it exists, Walker can rebut his critics with the fact that plenty of people own houses in more than one state. Now, a new report pokes holes in that idea with receipts that until recently, Walker's Georgia home was occupied by renters who paid Walker and his wife thousands. And the Daily Beast has the specifics. The house doubled as the Walker campaign's official address when he launched his bid. Records show it's owned by Walker's wife solely, who was collecting rental income on it. It's his wife's house, and it at least was until recently rented out. Herschel Walker was clearly not prepared to deal with this issue in the way that Mehmet Oz was prepared to deal with it. Mehmet Oz certainly isn't from Pennsylvania, but he was slightly more credibly able to make the case that he's sort of from Pennsylvania and lives in Pennsylvania. He has more than two houses. I don't even remember the number at this point in time. So Herschel Walker caught in another lie. Now, quite frankly, I don't think this is going to make a very big difference. right-wingers will say Democrats are the devil. I don't care where Herschel Walker lives. It's better for the country and for the state for Walker to be representing us rather than Warnock. And he could live in Alaska. He could live in Timbuktu. I don't really care. But the race is expected to be relatively close. There's a lot of little things that have been going against Herschel Walker. And if this has even a very small impact, it's now a growing list of things which hopefully will give us the results that we want on Tuesday. We're going to be live with results on Tuesday, of course, starting, I actually don't know. I think the polls close at 8 in Georgia. I'm going to double check that. If indeed the polls close at 8, we'll probably be live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then the results will start coming in. If I learn that the results won't even start coming in until 9, maybe we'll start at 8:30, but I will be live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. I hope that you will join me, and we will have all of the clips I played here today on our Instagram, which you can find by searching Instagram for David Pakman Show.